Hi friends, thank you for watching this video. I am Mohamad, and today we're going to be continuing our journey in building our Saha application API. Basically today we're going to be adding 2 endpoints and we're going to be adding a new field to the database. So let us jump into it. So we're going to be starting today by looking at some tickets that I have already created. Once we have discussed them, we're going to be jumping into the code. We're going to go through the first for the epics. We're going to see the epic and the 3 tickets that it contain, and then we're going to be delving into analyzing every single one of them, and then we're going to be actually coding them. So first thing first, we're going to be doing today is a user profile update. So what does that mean? So basically what we want to do right now is we're going to create 2 endpoints and a new controller. And that controller is going to be responsible for handling the user profile update. So whenever a user sends a request to update their profile, the controller should automatically know which user is sending the request, and it should automatically update their information. As well, if a user is requesting their profile information, action should automatically recognize which user is sending the request and basically send those information back. The trick here is we need to utilize a JWT token that we currently have in order for us to know which user is sending what. So which user is sending the request and which user is sending the updates, and based on that. And for that, we need to do some updates on the JWT generate method that we had before. As well, we need to add some more logic into actually grabbing that information from the JWT token in order for us to do all of these updates. So let's get started by actually delving into the tickets first, discussing them, and then we're gonna go through the code. So as we can see here, the first ticket that we have is basically update the profile with more information. So let's see what that contains. So add the following information to the entity: address, mobile number, and sex. That should be fine. And add the migration data to update the database. That should be fine. So let's start with that. First, let us open our terminal. And let's navigate to the application. And let us see what's inside of here. So let us open this in Visual Studio Code. Okay, perfect. Everything is working, everything is opening. So first thing first, let us close all of these. We don't really need them right now. Okay, let's close this, let's close this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing, we're just going to build the API to make sure that everything is building as it should be without actually adding anything. So let's navigate to our application, which is Saha notebook.api. And we're just going to run .NET build. Okay, great. And now that we have run .NET build, let us run .NET run. Perfect, it's running. Let us go to Insomnia. Let us bring it here. And basically, let us just try to log in with this account, see if everything, if we get, let's clear this. Let's see how we can clear this. Clear history. Yep. Or delete current response. Confirm. Not really sure how we can delete this. Let's see. Tell you what, let's just verify it. So here it starts with BAR1. So let's send a new login request. And basically we got a new token. Perfect. We now made sure that the application and the API is running as it should be. So let us go back to Visual Studio Code and let us stop this. So the first thing first, if we go back to our ticket, we see here that we need to update the user information with address, mobile number, and sex. So let us do that. So first of all, let us go to the users. I think it was inside the DB set and user. And let us add more information here. So first thing first, let's add a new property. And inside this property, as we said, it's gonna be address. And then we're gonna add another string, which is gonna be the mobile number. And the last one, basically, it's going to be sex. So prop string, and it's gonna be sex. Okay, great. Let's save this, and now let us go back to our Saha notebook data service, because that's where all of our DB logic is there, and that's what we're going to be using in order for us to generate a migration script and then actually updating the database with those migration scripts. So in order for us to do that, we're going to be utilizing some EF core stuff, entity framework core. So we're going to put .NET. First of all, let's navigate to it. So Saha notebook.data service, and then we're going to put .NET EF migrations, add, and we're going to give it a name, update user information, and then we're going to give it a startup project, and that we're going to be the main application, which is going to be Saha notebook.api. So Saha .api. Okay, great. So this should take a few seconds for a migration script to be generated. Okay, great. Now that the migration script has been generated, the next step for us is to actually update the database with these changes. So let's do this now. So .NET EF database update, and basically we need to specify a startup project, and basically here it's gonna be Saha notebook.api. Okay, great. This should also take a few seconds. Perfect. Now that has been done, next step, let us open DB Beaver and let us check if everything is as it should be. So let us add a new connection, SQLite, next, let's browse. So we'll have to go to YouTube, episode 5, API, and app.db. Let us open this, let us test the connection. Okay, great. And now let's click on finish. And now let's go for the users table. And if we open this, we should see these new 3 fields added there. So as we can see here, we have address, mobile number, and sex has been added. Okay, perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. So now, once we have done that, let us go back to our Saha notebook.api, and let us just do a build to make sure that everything is building as it should be and there's no build error. Perfect, build succeeded. Great. The next step is let us go back to our web browser and basically see if there's anything else we need to do here. So add the following information to the entity. We added those, add the migration, update the unit of work to contain a method that will be responsible for updating this information. Okay, we need to create this right now. So let's go back to our source code, and basically what we're going to be doing here is inside our repository, user repository, we need to create a new method which is going to be responsible for updating this. Very easy. So first thing first, if we want to add anything to our unit of work repository, we need to start by the interface of that model that we want to update. So in our case, it's going to be the user. So we need to go to our users repository inside the repository folder, and here basically what we're going to be doing is we're just going to create a new method. So it's going to be task, and basically it's easy for us to create it with a boolean, so we just to make sure if it has been updated or not. And we're going to add a new method which is going to call update user profile. And basically it's going to take a user, as simple as that. And once we have created here, we can see that it's the user repository is complaining because we don't have an implementation of that method inside that user repository. So let us add this there. It's very easy. Let's copy this, copy, and here let us just add a new method. So it's gonna be also be public, similar to this, and basically we just need to add the implementation. So let us just copy these and we'll modify them as we go. So first of all, we need to add this here, and instead of returning a new list, it's gonna return false, and we're gonna put var user underscore existing. We call it existing user, it's better. And let's remove the as no tracking, because what we want to do actually is we want to track the changes, and let's put it as an async. So what does mean the as no tracking here? So what it means is similar to this one here. The as no tracking is once the entity framework go into the database and get the information that we needed, it basically in memory, if we don't put the as no tracking in memory, it will keep a track of that object, and that object will basically, any change that happens to it, entity framework will take notice. So let's say we update the name of the object, entity framework will basically keep a version of the old information that we have and the new information that they have, and basically it will gonna keep a track of everything that we change. And when it comes to actually updating all of our records back into the database, entity framework will do a comparison between all of the old entities and the new entities that has been changed, and basically it will create an update script in order for it to update the database. So once we add the as no tracking, it basically will telling entity framework, no matter what we do to this object, you don't need to track any of the changes that we make because they are not relevant. So when we want to implement all of those changes back to the database, entity framework will not actually know that anything has changed because that entity or that object that we currently have has the flag as no tracking, so it will not know anything. For this reason, we need to remove the as no tracking. The as no tracking is usually used if we're just pulling data and we don't really care about. So if we have a CRUD and we're listing all of the data, because we're not actually manipulating it, we're actually just using it, and we're actually just utilizing it for viewing purposes, it makes sense to utilize as no tracking, as it gives us a lot of performance gains. But in case those we really need to keep track of it, we need to utilize we shouldn't utilize the as no tracking. Another aspect is by not utilizing the as no tracking for those small steps, we're gonna add some overload or overhead actually on our server, because the more entities that we keep in memory is going to be utilizing the more performance cost. So we need to be very careful of when to utilize the as no tracking and when we actually need to utilize it. In our case right now, we need to utilize it because we are updating the object back into our database. So let us continue by updating this method. So we don't want to return a list. Basically what we want to do return here is a first or default async. And basically here we want to map it to that user itself. So and x.id equal user ID. So we want to map the user ID based on the user that we have passed here. And first thing first, we need to check if this exists or not. So if existing user equal null, we're gonna return false, because there's no reason for us why we want to continue it, because the user doesn't exist. In case that user actually exists, we need to actually update the information. So we can update the first name, existing user dot last name, existing user dot email. Actually, we don't want a user to update their email address, because once you register with the same email address, you should not be able to change it. So we set first name, last name. Let's update the mobile number equal user dot mobile number, existing user. Okay, let's see what else. So we went mobile number. Let us update the phone equal user dot phone. And existing users dot, okay, let's see, we sent phone, mobile number, let's update the sex equal user dot sex. See as well, existing user dot status, we don't want to keep it the same, updated date. Okay, let's update the updated date. So equal date time dot now UTC now. Okay, that's great. So first name, last name, mobile number, phone, sex. Okay, perfect. Address, we didn't add the address, so let's add the address. Existing user dot address equal user dot address. Okay, great. Anything else? I think that should be it, but let us double check. So sex, mobile number, and address. So we have here sex, mobile number, and address. Perfect. So once we have done that, all we need to do is return true, because actually we did all of the updates that we need to do. So return true, and that should be it. All of this should be the same. Okay, great. So now we have created the method inside our user repository to update this. So let's go back to our web browser. And let us see here the changes. So we added all of these, add the migration to update the database as well. We need to update the unit of word that contain a method which will be responsible for updating, or we already done that. So let's change this from to do to done, because we have done this. And let's go back to our epic. So inside our epic, we have finished the first one. And the second one is basically right now, basically these two, let's check what they have. Load user profile. The logged in user will have the ability to load their profile information based on the logged in user. If we have able to see their user information and load their profile. Okay. Create an action inside the controller to reflect this. Okay, and we need to add is we need to utilize JWT token in order for us to keep or to know which user is logged in. Okay, let us save this and let us start with this right now. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And basically what we're going to be doing here is, first of all, we need to update our Generate JWT method in order for us to add a new claim, and that claim is going to be utilized by the entity framework it's going to be utilized by the identity framework for it to realize which user is logged in or not. So let us go back to our accounts controller. And inside our accounts controller, let's scroll down to Generate JWT token. And inside here, where we have a claims identity, here we actually need to add the new claim. So it's going to be new claim, and it's going to be of claims type dot name identifier. It's going to be dot name identifier, and basically what we're going to be passing is the user ID. So what is name identifier, and why are we going to actually sending it by the user ID? So the name identifier here is utilized by the identity framework in order for us to keep track of the logged in user. So how does it work? So as we said, once the user logged in, a request is being sent to our API. We're going to be actually verifying the username, the password, and basically we're going to verify that this user actually exists. And we're going to go through a lot of steps in order for us to make sure that the actual user is a valid user. Once we have done all of this work, we start creating our claims and generating a JWT token. So in order for us to actually keep track of this user with the identity framework without actually keeping track on it on the server, within the claims that we are sending, we need to send a variable or like a value of a claim called name identifier. And name identifier is actually being utilized by the identity framework in order for us to keep track of this user. So let's say I logged in, I got my JWT token, and I sent it back to the client. So the client right now has the JWT token available with them. If I don't have the name identifier in my JWT token claims, when I send back that token to the API to do any other request, the API will know that this is a valid token, but it will not know for which user it belongs. The only way for this API to know, okay, this token belongs to this user, is by having this claims type.name identifier available inside our claims. So that's what we need to add here. So right now, in order for us to know which JWT token belongs to which user, and we need to comply with, of course, with the identity framework, we need to add the claims type.name identifier. So that's why we have added it. So once we have added this, let us save it, and let us just do a quick build to make sure everything is building as it should be. So .NET build. Okay, great. And now let us create a new controller. So inside the v1 folder, we're going to create a new class, and we're going to call it profile controller. Great. So inside this profile controller here, what we're going to be doing is we need to update it similar to the rest. So let's take some of the information here instead of us redoing all of this work. So let's copy this. Actually, let's start by this. Let's copy this, copy. And where is the profile controller? This is it. Let's add this here. Let us fix those references. And anything else? Okay, the next step is, let's update these, copy. Need to update the constructor name. And let us fix these references. Perfect, let's save this. So in order for us to actually fully utilize identity framework here, we need to actually utilize the user manager. And we can actually add the user manager dependencies here, but it's better to add it inside the base controller, and from the base controller we can actually inherit those into the controllers that we want. So instead of redoing the work on all of the actions that we're actually going to be utilizing the user manager in, it's actually better to add this inside the base controller. So let us go to the base controller, and here we're going to be actually adding those information. So inside here, public user manager, we're gonna pass the identity user, and we're gonna call it underscore user manager, as simple as that. And let us fix those references. Okay, great. Now we need to update our controller, our constructor. So it's gonna be user manager, and then lastly we need to do underscore user manager equal user manager. Okay, perfect. So now that we have updated our user controllers, the other three controllers are complaining because they don't follow under the same structure. So we need to update them now. So let's start with the accounts one. So let's go all the way up. So we don't need this anymore. So bye. And basically here, what we need to do is we need to just pass the user manager here. And basically we need to remove this because we don't really need it anymore, because all of this initialization is being done through the base class. And similarly here, let's copy this one instead of copying it again, typing it again, excuse me, and let us add this here. So let's make this like this and add a new comma and paste this here. And basically we're gonna pass the user manager directly, and let us fix those references. Perfect. The last one is going to be the user's controller. We're going to go through the same action again. Let us add this to the constructor, add a new comma, and add this here, remove this one, and basically we need to add the user manager. Okay, let's fix those references. Great. So once these have been done, let's go back to our profile controller, and now we need to create two actions. So let's go back to our web browser to see what the first action that we want is. Basically load user profile based on the user who is logged in. So this means that we need to create a new get method. So it's going to be HTTP get. We don't want to call it profile, so HTTP get. If I can type get, okay. And then after that, it's gonna do a public. Okay, we don't really need this. So it's gonna be public async task action result, and we're gonna call it get profile, as simple as that. And we don't want to pass anything. And we're gonna return an OK for now, an empty OK, so we don't get any errors. And let us fix this. So system.threading. Okay, let us fix this. Okay, perfect. Let's save this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to actually utilize the JWT token that we have in order for us to get the user. And how are we going to be able to utilize that? By utilizing the user manager, which actually belongs to the identity framework that we have. So it's going to be a very simple request, but it's going to be all facilitated for us due to the claims that we have just added before. So let's do this. So first we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call it var, and we're going to call it logged in user. Logged in user, and it's gonna be equal to, here we're gonna actually utilizing the user manager, so it's gonna be await underscore user manager dot get user async, and here we're gonna go to http contacts dot user. So how does this work, or how is this actually processing. So user manager is, as we said, it's a class that is provided for us by the identity framework. The get user async, it's a method of that class. And here HTTP context. So whenever the request that a client is sending back to the API contain the actually valid JWT token ID, the identity framework inside ASP.NET Core will be able to pick up that JWT token and will be actually able to process it and do some verification on it. Once that is done, and that processing, all of this is happening before we actually hit that action. Once that is done, an HTTP context for that request is created, and based on that JWT token that we currently have, a user object is being attached to this. And that user object that's being attached to this will allow us to actually utilize the user manager class that identity provides us to get the logged in user. So that's in simple, that's how it works. So right now that we have this, the first step that we need to do is we need to actually see if we're getting a logged in user or not. So we need to do some verification. So if logged in user equal null, we need to send a bad request user not found. As simple as that. Or what we can do, let's leave it as generic as the detailed for now, but we can update it later on. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, once we have made sure that the actual user exists, now we can actually just get the user information back from the database and sending it back to the user. So this is going to be as simple as utilizing the unit of work that we had. So it's going to be var profile equal await underscore unit of work dot users dot get user by ID, or by identity ID, actually by identity. Do we have that method? No, we don't. So now we need to actually add a new method inside our user repository in order for us to pull that user information based on their identity ID. So we'll do this right now. So let's get by identity ID, and basically we're gonna pass the logged in user.id. So this method does not exist yet, but let us create it. So let's go back to our data service, and inside the iUser repository, we're gonna create a new one. It's gonna be task user, and it's gonna get user by identity ID, and it's gonna take a string as an identity ID. Or let's make it a GUID, because we need either way to convert it to a GUID. Okay, once we have done that, let's add using .system. Okay, let's copy this and let's go to user repository and let us add this here. So it's gonna be as simple as public async, as simple as that, and we're gonna let's actually take some inspiration of this. So let's fix this. Let us take this and let us paste this here. First of all, we need to make this as null. Let's take the action name, the method name, sorry, we'll update it here. We don't want any of this, so by. We don't want this, so by. We don't want this, we'll just make it return directly. And here, instead of connecting to ID, it's going to be identity ID. And basically here, instead of having an entire user, we're just going to pass the identity ID, as simple as that. And because we're only gonna getting the information and we're gonna be passing it back without keeping track, so we don't really need to keep track of this object inside our memory. For this reason, and because it's gonna give us out of performance enhancement, we're gonna utilize the dot as no tracking. So let us fix these alignments and let us save this. So once we have done that, if we go back to our profile, we can see here that this will not accept it, because whenever we get the identity ID from the entity framework, it's given to us as string. So it's simple as converting a string to a GUID. So we're gonna put var identity ID equal new GUID, and we're just gonna pass the string inside, which is gonna be logged in user.id, and here we're just gonna add using .system using, logged in user.id, and just gonna add using system, save. Okay, once we have done that, the next step is we need to remove this and delete this, and we're just gonna put identity ID. Okay, similar to what we have done before, we need to add this statement to make sure that the profile actually exists or not. So instead of logged in user, it's gonna be profile, and if it's null, we're gonna return not found. As simple as that. And at the end, if everything goes through, for now, we're just gonna return the object as is, but this is not the right way to do it. We need to actually create a return DTO, and we need to actually map it. But for now, it's gonna be as simple as returning the profile. And this is, by the way, this is not acceptable to return the object as is, but this is like a testing phase. We're gonna have another video, I think it's gonna be the one after this. We're just gonna do some optimization. We're just gonna create a mapper. We're gonna basically remove all of this like unnecessary code, have a standard return request. It's gonna be just purely for optimizing before we move any further, but for now we're just gonna return it as is. So let us save this and let us build our API. So .NET build. Okay, great. Now let's do .NET run. Okay, great. Now let us go back to our Insomnia. Where is Insomnia? And here, let us utilize Goofy for now. So first of all, inside, I have already created these before, but let's delete this, or let's keep them. It's gonna be very simple. It's just gonna be a GET request for a profile. So what we're gonna be doing here is, this is from a previous test that I did. Apologies, I didn't remove it, but it's fine. So let us just log in right now with the account that we have for Goofy, and let's send this request, and we get this JWT token. Let's copy this one, and let's go to get profile, and inside the header, let's paste this here, and let's send, and we should see Goofy. Perfect. Because this worked, we are able to get the profile of Goofy. And as you noticed here, from the body we didn't send anything, from the query we didn't send anything. All we did is we sent the JWT token, and because the system of the API actually recognized that this token belongs to Goofy, which is the user we are logged in, we were able to pull up their information. Let us try a different user. So here, let us pull a different user. And what other user do we have? Let's try Slim Shady. So let's take their email. Slim Shady, get profile. Let us update. Actually, let us log in first because we need to log in. So inside the JSON, let us update the email. I think every one of them has the same password, which is easy for us. And let's get this new JWT token ID that we have. Let's copy this. Let's go back to get profile. And now if everything works as it should be, we should see a Slim profile coming back. So send, and we can see we have Slim Shady profile coming back to us. Great. So now let's go back to our web browser, and inside our web browser, basically we're gonna mark this as done because we have finished this action. So from the to do, we're gonna mark it as done, and let's go back to our main epic. And we can see here that we have completed 2 of the 3 epic issues that we have. The last one is gonna be actually updating the profile that we have based on the JWT token that we send. So I'm gonna send a request, and this request is going to be sent back to the API. And once that request is sent to the API, they're going to be analyze it. We're going to update the profile information, and then we're going to be sending a 200 that everything went through. So let's do this right now. So first, let us open this, see if there's anything else. Create an action inside the controller to update the user profile to make sure it contains all of the required information. Very straight and simple to the point. Let's keep it as simple as that without delving into any more details. So let's go back to our code. And basically what we're going to be doing here, first we need to stop the application, and inside our profile controller, which we are in, we need to create a new method which is going to be basically responsible for updating the profile. So first of all, let's think about it this way. If we're going to update that profile, what we need to do is we need to send an object, and that object is going to be a DTO. So what we're going to be doing is we need to create a new DTO which is going to be accommodate for this request. So inside our entities inside DTOs. So inside incoming, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna create a new folder. We're gonna call it profile, and inside this profile we're gonna create a new class, and we're gonna call it update profile DTO. Great. And inside this updated profile DTO, what are we gonna be doing? We're gonna actually have the entities that we want to update. So for now, we're only gonna update the four things. So let us go back to the users, and we see we have address, mobile number, sex. So let us just update these four for now. So here, all we need to do is we need to send country, address, mobile number, and sex. And once we send this to the API, we'll be able to update them. So save, and let us try this right now. So let's take this class name that we have entered, and let's go back to our profile controller, and let us start first now by creating our action. So it's going to be, because we're sending a request and we're requesting an update, so it's going to be a post, where actually we can make it as a put. Okay, let's put it as a put, and we need to actually make it as a public async task action result. We're gonna make it update profile, we're gonna make it from body, and we're just gonna make this update profile DTO. I'm gonna call it profile. Let us fix those references. Okay, great. So the first thing first is we need to check if the model is valid. Of course, it's gonna be valid because it's a simple string, but let us add it. So if not model state dot is valid, we're gonna be returning a bad request, and inside here we're gonna say invalid payload. So that's the first thing that we need to add. So once we have made sure that the model state is valid, the next step for us is we need to actually get the user ID, get the user which is logged in through the identity framework and utilizing the JWT token. And we're going to be doing the same thing that we have done into get the user profile. So var logged in user equal await underscore user manager dot get user async, and we're gonna pass the HTTP context.user. So similar to what we have done here, we need to check if this user is logged in or not. And basically let's copy all of this because we're gonna need them. So let's copy this and let's add these here. So right now what we're doing is we have two profiles. Okay, so let's go to this user profile. Okay, let's update this. Okay, so right now what we're doing is we got the actually logged in user because of the HTTP context.user based on what we have discussed earlier, because identity framework will be able to pick that up from the claim that we have added to the Generate JWT token. And once we have done that, we are converting that ID, because the identity provided us the identity ID as a string. We need to convert it to GUID. And once we have converted to GUID, we're actually we are going to the database utilizing the unit of work, and we're getting the user based on their identity ID, and then we're checking if they are not, or if they are null or not. So if they are not null, right now what we need to do is we need to update their user. First thing first, let us check if this get by identity ID has the ASNO tracking enabled or not. So let us go to the users repository, and let's see here. Yeah, it has this. So this is going to create an issue for us. So let's remove this, because as we said, we want to update it. So we don't want to have the ASNO tracking. So let us save this and let's come back here. And right now we have user profile dot, I think we said address. We're going to update it equal profile dot address. And then we said user profile dot sax equal profile dot sax, and then we have user profile dot mobile number equal profile dot mobile number. What was the last thing we have added? I think it was country. Okay, and user profile dot country equal profile dot country. And once we have done all of that, what we need to do is we need to update the information inside our database. So how do we do that? We need to call the get identity by ID. So sorry, we need to actually call the unit of work, and from that unit of work we need to update it. So we're gonna put var is updated, that's what we're gonna call it, equal await underscore unit of work dot users dot update user profile, and basically we're gonna pass the user profile that we have. And once that is done, what we need to do, we need to check if is updated. Make sure that if the information is updated successfully, we're just gonna return an OK with the user profile updated. If not, we're gonna return a bad request, and we're gonna say here failed to complete, or something went wrong. We don't want to give out information. Something went wrong, please try again later. Okay, let us see this, let us save this, and let us build our application. So dotnet build, building, perfect. Dotnet run, great. Now let's go back to our Insomnia, and what we're gonna be doing is, this is a post, so let us create a new one. Actually, let's delete this one, I don't want it anymore. So bye, and let us create a new request. We're gonna call it update profile. It's gonna be a put, it's gonna be a JSON. Okay, great. So the first thing first is we need to put the same authorization. So let's copy this, and here we're gonna say authorization. And now here inside the JSON body, we need to create a new JSON object, and first is gonna be the address. We're just gonna put the address for now, Disneyland Paris, and then we're gonna put the phone number, and we're gonna put 1122334, and then we're gonna put the country, we're just gonna say France, and lastly we're gonna put the sex, and we're gonna put mail. Okay, so let us get the URL, and let us put this here, and basically let us log in with the Slim Shady account. Okay, let us send this request. Perfect. Let us copy the token and go to update profile, and let's update the JWT bearer token here, and let us send this request and see what do we get. And as we see right now, we got a 200, and we got the information that has been updated. So we can see the sex has been updated to male, the country has been updated to France, the address has been updated to Disneyland Paris. So let us do another update right now, and let us change this one from address to Detroit, Michigan. I think this is how you write Michigan. The country is gonna be USA, and the phone number is gonna be +1, for example, 991199119911. Okay, less than this, and we can see here that the information has been updated for us. And if we see get profile, we should get the latest information, because right now we can see it's empty. Let us update the token before we do that, and let's send this request, and it was null. I wonder why. Let's see this one here. We got it updated. Oh, okay, I know what we didn't do right. Apologies for this. So if it's updated, we needed to do this await complete async. So that's what we needed to do. So basically, we forgot the last step, which is actually committing all of these changes to the database. Apologies for this. So let us try this again. Let us stop and let us run the application again. Okay, great. Now let's go back here and let us log in and get a new token. Copy this and let us go to update profile. Let's update this one. And now let's send this request and we can see it has been gave us a 200. And now let us update this here token so we get the latest one and we should see the latest version. Perfect. We see that the country has been updated, Detroit. The sex mobile number is being, no, it's not updated. So let's see why the mobile number is not being updated. So profile, okay, let's check the user repository. Mobile number, phone, and phone. Okay, I wonder why it's not being updated. How are we sending it here? An update profile, are we sending it as a string? Yes, we are sending it as a string. Phone number, this is what needs to be updated. And here it says it's an empty string. User phone, so that should be fine. Okay, let us just put a breaking point and see what is happening. So let us put this here. Let us stop this and let us go to the debugger and let us run this. It's going to require us to log in again, which is completely fine. Okay, now let us go to our Insomnia and let us log in. And let us get this profile, the JWT token ID. Let's go here and let us update the header. Paste, and now let's send this request. Okay, let us check the profile. And we can see the mobile number is null. Why? How are we sending it here? Oh, here it says phone number and there it says, apologies for this. So let us stop this. We don't really need it anymore. So here it's called mobile and there I'm calling it phone number. So if I do this, that should save all of our headaches. So let us send this request now. Oh, sorry, we need to execute this. So inside the terminal, dotnet run. And let's run this. We can see that the mobile number has been updated successfully. And if we get the profile, let us update this. Nope, not this. Let us get the token, copy, get, paste, send, and we got it perfectly. Great. So this is gonna be the end for the video today. Let's do a quick recap. So the first thing that we done is, let's go back to Visual Studio Code, is the first thing is we have updated our DB set, updating the user by having these 3 fields. And once we have added those, we have created a migration script and then we have updated the database. Once that has been done, the next step for us was to actually create some user repositories methods. So we have created 2, one update user profile. So basically whenever we create the method to update the user profile, as well as get by a user by identity ID. So we're utilizing the identity ID that the identity framework utilized to get the user information. Once those were done, we have actually created a new controller, which is going to call the profile controller. And this controller has contained 2 actions. The first action is get user profile. Basically, on the JWT token, based on the JWT token, we were able to get the profile of the logged in user. So in order for us to do that, we had to update the Generate JWT token method by adding a new claim, which is going to be this claim here. a claims type name identifier, which is utilized by the identity framework to know which user belongs to which JWT token. And once we have done that, it has been very easy. Basically, we utilize the user manager class, which is provided for us by the identity framework to know which user belongs to which JWT token. Once we have done that, we just did a simple query to the database and we return that profile back. And the next step is we did an updated profile. So basically we are sending an updates, and basically the API is updating them. So again, we just validated the model that we are sending. We did the same thing based on the JWT token that we have. We actually got the logged in user, then we did a simple query to the database to update that object. And then once we have done that, we have added the updates here that we have, and then basically we just updated the profile inside our database. And if it all goes well, we have did the complete async, and then we return the information back to the user. And if something went wrong, we just return the bad request. Great. Thank you very much for watching. Please add your questions in the comments down below, or any suggestion that you might have. Please like and share and subscribe if you like this video. It will really help the channel. And in the next video, we're gonna go into more of an optimization. Before we delve and adding more functionality, we're just gonna be adding some optimization. We need to do some refactoring. We need to add some auto mapping in order for us to make it as much clean and neat as we can. So thank you very much again for watching, and have a great day.